win the affection of the mother. So you're also going to be a mama's girl. If he calls his mother in the morning and at night, then you're going to be calling his mother in the morning, lunchtime, and at night. Catching up with her. Once you win mama, you win your husband, because his mother will tell him, your wife said, so we are doing this because your wife said that.
Welcome to Remadzimai. I'm your host, Grace Nyambe, and this is a healing and not a show. And today I'm joined by my beautiful panelist, Gamu.
Hello everyone, my name is Gamchirai Chitembwe. I'm a mother of 3. I'm glad to be part of this great conversation as we are going to be learning and also share.
Thank you, Gamu. Tsungi.
Greetings everyone. My name is Tsungi. It's a pleasure being part of this discussion.
Thank you, Tsungi. Before we dive in, there's a Shona saying, Kuziva mbuya huuzwa. It means you cannot know what you were never told. Our mothers and grandmothers carried the weight of in-law expectations in silence. They were never taught how to set boundaries, say no, or how to heal from rejection, because they were expected to just endure, so they couldn't teach us either. Today, we are going to break that silence. We are teaching each other. In-laws are a huge part of our lives as women. In our culture, the relationship between a wife and her in-laws is often seen as a measure of how well she is fulfilling her role. There is pressure to be liked, to be respectful, to never say no, and to always to be available for the family. But the reality is really complicated. Some are in the diaspora, far away from their in-laws. Some are living close to them or with them. Some have navigated in-law relationships within marriage. Some are navigating the relationship after marriage. Some have set firm boundaries, and some are still learning how to set the boundaries. So today we are going to explore the topic in-laws and marriage dynamics. Let's get into it. So we'll start with Gamu. What has been your experience with your in-laws, and what has been the biggest challenge for you?
Okay, Titi, I can say I've never really had challenges per se, because when I wedded, the night after my wedding, we just went to our one room, so we never stayed with any in-law. But let me give you just a brief background of us. My parents both died, and also my husband's parents, they are also late. So the people that I can say they are my in-laws, they are the brothers and the sisters, and everyone in the family, like the other relative, they are also our in-laws. But I can't say I've had any problems with them. But what I can say is the balance from their expectations and me trying to pursue my purpose for life, and we do communicate and have a mutual respect.
Okay, coming to you, Tsungi, what has been your experience with the in-laws, and what has been the biggest challenge for you?
Well, I think I'll start with the biggest challenge. I feel the biggest challenge when handling in-laws is the aspect whereby the couple itself has the couple that is meant to unite these in-laws has not actually fully agreed on how they're going to handle the in-laws together. So when there's that gap of not actually talking or communicating about it on how you handle the in-laws, that can pose as a big challenge. Then my experience with in-laws, I've really been blessed enough to experience, like, what can I say, full cover of in-laws, whereby my parents at some point when I got married, they were still alive. My husband's family parents were also still alive. So I got to experience the both sides and both ends. And like I said, like, the biggest challenge really will come in when both of you have not exactly agreed how you will handle your families as a couple. And then with that as a barrier, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, thank you, Tsungi, for that. As for me, I actually grew up in the society where people would say that the in-laws, they bring problems to the marriage. You know, the relationship between the daughter-in-law and mom-in-law, the daughter-in-law and aunt, it was really marked as a bad relationship. So I actually had to pray before I got married, like, God, I want you to give me the in-laws who would love me and accept me as I am. I don't want to face any problems like what other people say about in-laws. So fortunately, God answered my prayer. I haven't had any challenges with my in-laws so far. So it's like after marriage, we had to go to our one room, like what Gam said. And then after a year, we had to relocate to the UK. So I've never really had any challenges from them, or really to experience how it feels, maybe probably because of the distance. But you would find that there are some stories whereby the in-laws are a bit far away from you, but still they have in the relationship. So at the end of the day, sometimes the distance doesn't really matter, because even if they are far away, they have a say in that marriage. So I would actually say that I've been blessed on that part. Tungi, do you have any boundaries that you had to set with your in-laws, and what was difficult or easy to do?
Well, I think boundaries are easier set when you are living in your home. So one of the boundaries that I set was, I go by the saying, my house, my rules. It's as simple as that. Meaning, if I'm going to be taking care of my husband's siblings' children, they also need to abide by the same rules that I'm using to ground my own children. That's how it works. So if you're going to put your children under my care, then it means that my rules are going to apply. So it's one boundary that it was hard, and it's hard. Trust me. There'll be those sisters-in-law that will feel you're being unfair to them. They will also feel that you probably you treat your brother's daughter better than their children. But that's not how it works. As long as it's my home, then my rules apply. And so it's a boundary that helped. At the same time, I've been fortunate enough that I was raised from my maternal side, looking at my maternal side. It's so solid such that when I look at my mothers, all of them, all my aunts and my grandmother included, I see the type of Murora that I'm supposed to be, because they resemble that and perfectly. They are my idols when I look at how I'm supposed to treat my in-laws, my maternal side. When I look at my aunts and my mother, in fact, my whole maternal side, they play this role of in-laws so perfectly that all I'm left to do is admire and learn. So in the end, I was also put in that position whereby I wanted to be exactly like them, even in my own home. I wanted to be exactly like them in the family I got married to, because that's what I grew up seeing. I'm talking about a situation where my aunt becomes like the pillar of the family, of their in-laws household. Every question, every decision, it has to come through her. Why? Because she holds the family together, and there's so much peace, and everything seems to flow. So that's the ideal Murora picture that I got from my own maternal side. Even looking at how, even on my paternal side as well, my mom and my father's siblings' wives, was aunts from that side. You'd realize in each family there's one Murora who stands out, and that Murora who stands out seems to have everything all neatly, all handled properly. And again, those women would be my role models. I would be talking of my own mother. Everyone, it's wherever there's any family gathering, anything that involves family, she has to be consulted. Why? Because she's one of those people who actually is now holding the family together. And you'd see even my father's cousins, again from their families, there would also be that one outstanding Murora. Everybody else is there, but there would be that one outstanding Murora who kind of knits the whole family together. So again, it means that those people were able to set boundaries. They were able to make the families respect them, and at the same time get the good that comes out of them. And that keeps the family together. So in the end, I then picked up the fact that when it comes to my home as well, then my rules stand. My rule, my home, my rules.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. In light of that, when you said my home, my rules, I think it actually works perfectly if you're actually in agreement with your husband. You are on the same lane, because sometimes you might set rules in your home, but then your husband is not in agreement, to an extent that, let's say you have set a certain rule for someone, for an in-law, and then your husband is taking the side of that relative of his. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like your rules are dissolved, but in your home. So I think it actually works best if you and your husband are on the same lane and you are in agreement. Thank you for that, Tsungi. Gamu, what do you have to say about setting boundaries with your in-laws? Did you have to set any boundaries? Was it difficult or was it easy for you?
Okay, as for boundaries, I think it has to start with you and your partner. What do you really want? What kind of a home do you want to build? So if you agree with your partner, then the in-laws will not get into your space because they will not be allowed to give rules in our relationship, because that was ziya zvatikudai isusu kudhara. So they are not allowed in our space. If they come in with good intentions, yes, we may respect them. But if they come there to come and try kuita unge vada kutitonga or something, they won't be permitted, because we know what we really want.
Thank you for that, Gamu. But are we saying that for the in-laws to be controlling or to have a say in your marriage, is it like there will be some kind of a loophole that's allowing them to control the marriage, or despite not having the loophole, they are still controlling? What do you have to say about that? Is there any loophole that we are allowing the in-laws?
Yes, I think usually when in-laws step in and they probably get control or over control, it's when there are those loopholes. One of the loopholes I would say is probably empowerment. If you are a woman who's empowered, usually no one takes control of you. You stay on top of the game. If you're also a woman who appears vulnerable, again, sometimes they also tend to override. They tend to also take control of your marriage. So at the same time, yes, we may set boundaries and all, but there has to be that spouse support when you're dealing with the in-laws. At the same time, independence is key. We cannot run away from that. Some in-laws may not take even the in-laws that are trying to help you or to empower you in the correct way. They may find it as a negative influence into that marriage. But at times it's to help them. I've got quite a number of perfect examples whereby the lady came through young, without much education background at all. But it was the in-laws who molded that woman to come to be at par with the standards of that home. And it was not an easy task, by the way. Sometimes you get the negative comments. I remember one of the comments, in fact, one of the comments was actually a call by the Murora's mother to their husband's mother, claiming that, you're trying to destroy my daughter's marriage by sending her to school. But look, this was somebody who joined the family with not even enough O-levels, But they saw it as a problem that this family wanted to take that girl to school. But that's not the case. The case is with these in-laws, they were seeing that there's a gap. And they were trying to probably to sort out that gap by taking the girl to school. But at times, you would think that these in-laws are trying to be over-controlling, you see. And then there are also instances whereby you probably have nothing. You've just married your husband. He's not even a breadwinner. He's probably even still being looked after by his own parents. And you expect him to move out on whose pocket and on whose money. So that's where you see that they'll probably force the in-laws will probably force you to live in with them. And then again, when we're talking of two women under the same household, right? It's a matter of the Murora then has to probably come to terms with the fact that she's not really the wife of the home. She's a child in that home. So if you put your wife in scenarios like that, obviously she'll feel controlled. So the empowerment is key. Such loopholes, empowerment and independence. If you've got your own pocket, you'll definitely be able to afford your own accommodation wherever. And you'll be able to probably like control the number of times you're actually mingling with family if you've got that independence. But if you don't have, then I'm sorry, you have to just be a child in that home. And that will work perfectly well for you if you remember to just be a child.
Thank you, Tsungi, for that. So are you saying that if you are not empowered enough, then the in-laws, they have the power to control the marriage?
At times they do. Because, think about it. You're not working, your husband is not working, but you've got a child who's going to be buying formula and who's going to be buying diapers. It's your mother-in-law. So guess what? The next time you're going to ask for money for diapers from mama, because remember, you have to call her mama as well. The moment you're going to ask for money for diapers from mama, you might then get, maybe she might be rude about it because she's parting with money, remember. She might be rude about it. She might tell you, I bought nappies for my children, so you might as well start washing nappies, And then you think she's being unfair. But the truth of the matter is you have put yourself in that situation. So my encouragement is, ladies, let's get empowered before we even think about this whole marriage setup. Let's be empowered. Let's have even that financial independence. It will solve us quite a number of problems. But I tell you, I know quite a number of women who actually have to live with their in-laws. They are perfectly happy. Why? They have grasped the idea that as long as you're in that household, you may not necessarily put the rules, but you may have to abide by mama's rules, and life will be okay.
Thank you, Tsungi, for that. I've just remembered of a certain story whereby the brother had died. So I think Murora was not empowered enough, or didn't have enough money to look after the kids. So the aunt is the one who was now looking after the kids of her brother. So she was like, I want to take to be in charge of those kids because my Murora doesn't have capacity. Sort of like taking the kids away from her. What do you have to say about that?
Honestly, I think that's a bit unfair. But again, there's always that point where we feel that in-laws override. I think it's unfair. Usually, the person who gives the most care to any child would be the mother. And sometimes what probably that mother needed was support to be able to raise those children. Yes, the father is not there anymore, but then you also then have to look back and see what sort of relationship did they have? Because I'm thinking of a situation where probably even the brother and the sister were not in good books. And so why would this aunt then suddenly think she may change? And then there are also scenarios whereby maybe the brother and the sister were that close and this aunt had access to these children even before the father passed on. In such a scenario, it's all about agreement. If they hope to co-parent, the best would be to agree with how they would, instead of taking away the kids. Because you don't exactly want to remove the other parent from the children's life. Because by taking those children away from their mother, is basically making those children full orphans. The father is not there anymore. You are removing the mother in the children's life. And you expect those children to have a normal life, yet they know their mother is there. Imagine when they look back and they're thinking about it, that we are not raised by our mom because our mother failed to get support from our father's side. Imagine the sentiment. They will probably not dislike that aunt in the end. No? Why? Because they would be thinking back and thinking back, okay, if our mother had raised us this way, would have achieved certain things in their lives. So I think the best, when your sibling passes on, you need to arrange a co-parenting plan that involves the mother of that child. It is the only, and it's one way that I feel works.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said, because I think it's a bit unfair to take over the kids. It's not like the mom is dead. The mom is still there. And she was actually thinking of going to the court with that issue, just to take charge of those children, simply because that mom doesn't have money, simply because you have got the means, you have got the capacity. You feel like, I need to take these kids away from their mom. I think it's really unfair. What do you have to say about this issue whereby the brother is dead, so the Murora has been left with kids, but the aunt, sister to the brother, wants to take the kids away from the Murora simply because she doesn't have the means?
Okay, I think that would not be fair, because I, as a mother, I take pride in raising my kids. Yes, the tragedy has happened, but I also remain a mother. If they want to give support, they should support me and my kids, or they can support their brother's kids, but I still remain the mother of those kids and still taking care of them. That won't be fair for them to take away the kids from the mother.
So
adding on to that,
okay,
just adding on, I feel that in the event of death, at times it's really pointless burning bridges. I don't want to take sides really for where the aunt is coming from or the Murora, but at times when the moment people burn bridges, it's very hard to put interest of the kids first. So the interest of the kid first would be need to have access to their mother, right? That's one of the first interests of the kid. And then at the same time, they need to have a life that is meaningful and that is sound. And that is what is coming from the aunt, right? Now, if after death, they decide to burn bridges with the sisters-in-law, then it means it's also then going to complicate the life of the children. So in scenarios like that, these are women we're talking about. This one is the mother, this one is the aunt. They have to come to a point whereby they don't burn bridges because of death, especially if they were still married and they were living together. Because remember, this woman was loved by your brother, by the way, unless if they were separated. If they were never together, then it's a different story altogether. But at the same time, doesn't mean we take away the fact that this woman is the mother of those children. So my thinking is the relations are that important for in-laws, whether people are gone or not gone. We need to have a relationship whereby even that woman may actually feel so comfortable having her children being raised by aunt, whilst she tries to find means to get herself going. Maybe at some point she'll be equipped or empowered enough to take back those children. But it only applies when there are good relations. When there are good relations, you are able to even exchange these children without exchanging words. peacefully. And again, that is the best interest of the children. The children want to have an access to their father's side. The children want to have an access to their mother as well. At the same time, we don't want this aunt to feel obligated to just fund these children whilst they're with their mother. It should all be out of love. Why? Because this sister-in-law will not have burnt bridges. So it's very important and crucial for ladies out there to know that it's very important not to burn bridges by whichever way.
Thank you so much, Tsungi, for that. So, Gamu, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do your in-laws affect your marriage or relationship dynamics?
Okay. Maybe 2 out of 10. I say so because we stay away from them. They don't control us, and we actually see each other. Maybe usually in family gatherings. Let's say there's a funeral, there's a wedding. We are there together, but there isn't much space that I give so that they can control or something, and we have never gave them the chance to control us. So I might say I've never had much problems with them.
Thank you for that. And Tsungi, what do you have to say about this?
I'm still trying to think, okay, 1 to 10, what would I give my in-laws? Well, maybe I would want to probably drive the background to it. I got married into a very complicated family. So I would say, yes, to a certain extent, they had an impact in our marriage to a certain extent, but I would still not give them anything above 5. No, I would not give them anything above 5. Why? One of the trick was probably in a marriage setup, when you want to make news, especially if it's bad news to the other side of the in-laws, let the biological family member break the news. That way, it allows your marriage to survive without having much of their impact on it. So I would say less than 5, but the why that would work is making sure that the biological relative, that is their son, is the one who delivers bad news or whatever decision that you will have made as a couple to them, and not you.
Yeah. I agree with what Tsungi have said. I think it's actually in the best interest of both of you if you let the husband to break the news to his family rather than you to break the news. For example, let's say they want some money and you don't have the money as a family. It's actually best if your husband tells them that unfortunately at this moment we don't have enough money to give you. But then if it's done by you, Tsungi, it will be like Murora wedu atini mama. But if it's done by their son, it's fine. But when it comes directly from you, it becomes a problem. So what are the cultural expectations placed on a daughter-in-law in our culture? Like, what is she expected to do and to sacrifice?
Okay. In our culture, we are expected to be a hard worker. That's the first thing. In a normal family setup, you are the one who is supposed to wake up very early in the morning, put water on the stove for everyone to bath, because they would want to have a hot bath in the morning. So you are the one who is expected to do that. At the same time, you have to clean the house. You have to make sure that everyone has had something to eat. And when you are staying with a lot of people on the house, you are supposed to do also the washing for them. There are a lot of expectations that way, especially when you are staying at Kumusha as well. You are supposed to go Kumunda, Kunorima. So we are, as a daughter-in-law, she carries a lot of burdens at the home.
Yeah, that's very true. Tsungi, what do you have to say about this?
Well, as a daughter-in-law, you are expected to just blend in. You are expected to forget everything else forget about you, almost like you're forgetting about your childhood, forgetting about everything else, and making the in-laws matter. If you are able to manage to make them feel and see it that way, then you win. That's what I think on expectations. Meaning that at some point you're supposed to sacrifice even your own interests for theirs. The unfortunate bit is, other than as for the son-in-law who happens to be your husband, when he is relating to your family, he's probably just an addition or just somebody else who took their daughter. But for you're getting to this family. They expect you to be really part of that family, meaning you forget everything else you knew. The moment you try to be the fixer of things, once you're in that family, things will not go so well for you. That's what I have learned on the expectations of in-laws.
Okay. Hey, was there any time where you felt like they've been unfair or unrealistic to you, and how did you navigate that? Tsungi, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I just repeat the question.
Okay, I was saying was there any time you felt like your in-laws were being unfair or unrealistic to you? and how did you navigate that? Like their expectations?
Yes, there were quite a number of scenarios. I would sit back and think, I think this was a bit unfair. And most of the time, I would not want to really blame it on in-laws, honestly. I would want to push back the blame on my partner. Why? Because, like I said, the hardest thing ever is if you actually don't have a game plan on how you be handling in-laws, and when there's no consistency on how you handle in-laws from both. So in a certain way, I felt that was a bit unfair, because you'd probably instead of saying this is the decision we have made, you'd go out there and say this is what she said, things like that. And when things are said that way to the family members or to in-laws, it already portrays a wrong picture altogether. And so I would not blame them for the way they reacted to that, because I would actually blame the partner who would then go to the in-laws as claiming that she said this and not it as a decision we both made. So those were the scenarios that I said I suffered, or rather I felt were unfair when handled by the in-laws. Yeah. I know quite a number of people who may also feel like there are some expectations or sacrifices that they feel unfair. But to me, I would not find it that way, because I think when it comes to marriage, you just have to expect anything. For example, you can get married not knowing that in 2 months' time, your brother's siblings may pass on you, and you may be supposed to raise those children left by his brother. When it comes to marriage, you just need to expect anything. And I can't say that is unfair, because once you get into marriage, you need to always remember that it's not about you two, it's about the whole family. And yeah, unfortunately, you have to get used to that. It's about the whole family. You may have to take in quite a number of family members and live in the same household. And for me, I think it would not be a challenge, because growing up, I used to see my mother, sisters taking up such roles whereby they have to really raise the whole extended family in your home, in your home. And unfortunately, you can't do much about it, but you need to just embrace, love them, and you have a family, normal family life. Yeah. And the sacrifices then which you have to make is probably you never have time alone with your children. Sadly. It's always this broad family. So yeah.
Thank you for that. How would you deal with such a situation, like you don't have time to spend with your kids, it's just the extended family? How does it feel?
That's a tough one. But I would, if there's any woman out there who has such a situation, memories are that important, I tell you, even to your own children. So you need somehow to talk through it with your husband. You need to probably find another relative you are close to at least just give those other children maybe a weekend with them, so that you can also just spend time with your family. It's that important. It's very hard, I know. You can't separate, but times you need to also have time and room for your children to actually feel that they are also your children. Unless if they are all of the young age, then you can't do much about it. You have to take them all along. But if they're adults, for example, your children might be looking at Gamo, maybe your children are in junior school, and you've got relatives, kids who are in university and, high school that you are living with. There comes to be a time, probably arrange a small holiday that you only take your children, the babies of the house. It's important. I think in-laws need to understand that as well.
Thank you for that, Swingi. But in light of that, there are situations whereby you sacrifice time and money for your family whilst you're taking care of the extended family as well. But then when those people grow up, they'll be like, we never asked you to take care of us. There's something like that. It really hurts really badly. You would have sacrificed your money, you would have sent them to the same schools that you sent your kids. But when they grow up, they are no longer appreciating you. I don't know, how can we deal with that? Is it like let's just do it for the sake of doing it without expecting anything in return, not even expecting to be respected or to be loved back? Are we supposed to just to be nice, just to be good without expecting anything back?
If ever you expect a thank you, at times you need to just forget that and smile.
Then it's a tough one.
Thank yous don't happen. Thank yous don't just happen like as they are supposed to happen. There are those relatives that will actually even badmouth you. I saw that in many women's life. They did their best. They would look after those children, even stepchildren, you're trying your best, but in the end, they will go back and they'll bad mouthing about you. You are, in fact, to those in-laws, you are that evil. You are that evil. But there you are, you're offering your home. You're sacrificing your children's space, your children's bedrooms, You might even make your children share one bedroom if it's probably a small two-bedroom house. Your children are having to sleep probably in the lounge because you're creating room for these older kids, for your husband, sisters, children to be in that home. And they will never thank you any day. They will just feel that it's a right to them. In our African culture, there is very little emphasis on right and privilege. I don't know. Maybe it's different in your lives, ladies. But from my observation in this world, in this Zimbabwe, in these African homes, right and privilege are the same, are treated the same, whereas they're very different. If we are taking people into our home, because remember, my husband and I are supposed to be starting our own home. Remember, it's supposed to be our own home. That means that we're just supposed to be having our children, right? Our whether it's stepchildren or whatever, that is our home. But now when we are taking the children, his sister's children into our home, even his brothers, even his even his younger brothers and everyone else, it's no longer just our family. It's now this bigger family. And for those people that are joining us, they never take that seriously. They feel that it is their right to be there. But it's not. It's not, guys. I don't know how do you feel? I think it's not their right.
Yeah, it's not. Gam, what do you have to say about this?
On these issues, as for me, I'm a product of such a scenario because, like I said, my parents passed away long back. So some of the things, because what we do, sevanhu vanochengetwa, we tend to forget kuti vanhu ava, they are actually trying to help. So kana ndazogara pamba paya, to want them to treat them like their biological children. That's where the problems comes in. Because if you just know that here I'm just being helped, you won't have any problem. As I grew up, like right now, I'm now a parent. They actually did a good job for me. I can't even take someone. I can do it. Kuti ndinatsozvipira kuti ndichengete munhu, it takes a great work to it, because what I'm supposed to be giving to my daughter, I'm now sharing it. So I think unozoona, you might badmouth those people who have taken care of you. So my expectations atenti nawo anenge akawandisa. Ndotoona kuti vanhu ivava vanotoita basa hombe, because the only person who has the right to take care of you is only your parent. So when the parent is not there, when the parent is not capable of taking care of you, it's not someone's problem. Kana watomboona aku-accepta, akutora, I think tofana kungo make sure kuti ta respect that person, net decision. Because inini I was left ndiri kamwana kadiki, ndobva ndazotorwa kutotanga kuintroduced to a family. Yes, chiziyana nevanhu ava because they are your relatives, but wakuiswa mumba muya muya wakutotreatwa as such. Saka iwe ukazoexpecta a lot, ndopaunozonge pakupedzisira wakunyeya vanhu ava. But ini ndoona kunge vanenge vatoita something great by just taking you shelter and the food, which you will never get from the streets.
Although I would also want to add, as women, yes, I know you are expected to just take in these people in your home, these in-laws into your home. I also feel that if you are not able to say it out before you even try to force things. Yes. Why I'm saying so is, I think the worst thing any woman can ever try to do is take in children or take in these adults into your home, and then so if you know you're not capable of doing it, say it out that I'm not able to do it. I think I would respect a woman, an in-law who would say it out in the open that, you know what, I can't look after your children, or you know what, I'm not able to try and have you accommodate your son whilst he's in university. Say out in the open. I think it's better. It saves us a lot of time as well if you say out the truth. But we tend to hold that in as women. We try to please people. Let's not be people pleasers. Let's be real. If you know you're not going to be able to love these other children like your own, then don't take them. Just don't take them. And that way it saves it saves you peace. At the same time, you don't tend to be a bad person. And again, on the other hand, let's not expect to be thanked after we've done something great.
Yeah, I agree with what Tsungi said. But it takes courage. Like you are in people's family, and then you just say, I'm not able to take care of this child. It takes really great courage. It's not really easy, guys, to tell your in-laws like, I'm not able to take care of this. You'll be in trouble. They will say you don't want to take your responsibility. So you need to have enough courage to say that. It's really difficult to say, I'm not able to do this. What if you have some disagreements with your husband because of that? So at the end of the day, you just end up giving in. you're not able to, and you don't want to, but because of the dynamics of the family and you want to preserve your marriage, you end up agreeing, and then you just take in that child and start to take care of that child. But what hurts the most is after sacrificing that, we have taken that child and they're not taking care of that child. Most of the people, they are really ungrateful,
I think
very ungrateful. When they grow up, they'll feel like you never did them any good. And they feel like it was their right for you to take care of them, of which it was really a sacrifice that you did. So I think to some extent, those people who are being taken care of, they also need to be grateful. It really feels good, like you have taken care of someone and that person is so grateful that you did such thing for him or her, rather than you have sacrificed and that same person is bad mouthing about you. I think it really hurts, guys. So I think these people, they also need to be grateful and stop bad mouthing people who are taking care of them. Okay.
And at the same time, I wanted to add that it's very easy to say no when that person is from this kid who needs help is from your husband's side. Zvinoita kuti tisarambe nyaya idzi. It's because one day it's you, Titi, you want to bring your brother's daughter in your family, and you want to ask your husband to help you in taking care of this child. This would be a challenge. Because when the first time it was your husband and you said no, now the problem is on your side and you want to take in someone from your side into the home, it becomes a challenge because wakamboramba kuchengeta hama yake, then now you want your relative to come in. Very challenge. I think if you can and if you have the resources, you never know tomorrow. It might be your child who needs someone to take care of her, or it can be your relative. But I'm not saying let's shrink ourselves to do things that we cannot do. But sometimes we just have to be considerate. Because even if you say no, maybe this child doesn't even have anywhere to stay except from your house. So I think let's just be considerate. At the same time, don't shrink ourselves. But tichitobatsira munhu kuti akure. Like I said, I'm a product yekuchengetwa. Here I am. I give credit to those who took care of me. At the same time, ndinogona kutotaura kuti pakati vaisandigonera, but chandinongoona what they did to me, what was good to me, taking me to school, at the same time giving me shelter and food, and here I am today. See, so I'll never say no, but I'll just make sure I do zvandinokwanisa kuti mwana akure.
Yeah,
Well, I beg to differ. I would say no. When honestly, why I'm saying so, I only accept what I know I will do wholeheartedly. If the situation is I know that I will not be able to give them my all, then I don't. Some people call me a perfectionist because that's how I operate. So if I know that whatever that I need to do, I will not be able to do it wholeheartedly, then I'll not even try. So if the moment I accept that child into my home, my husband's sister's sons into my home, then rest assured that they will be treated perfectly. They will enjoy my home as if it's their own. But the moment I say I can't, again, one of the pushers that would make someone say, you know what, I'm not able to do that is how the husband is treating you as well. If you are treated well and there's consistency, you'll probably accept most everything that the family brings to you. You accept it if there's consistency. Why I'm talking about consistency is this husband or your in-laws should expect to find even my own cousin, sister's grandchild in my home as well, and not feel that my home is only meant to be a place or a shelter for their side of the family only. So consistency is also key. If they feel that my family or my side, my distant cousins are not welcome in my home, then they should also expect that my home is also not, their side of the family may also not be welcome in my home. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be consistency. There needs to be consistency. If we are able to do this on my husband's family side, then we should also be able to do the same from my family side. That's my take.
Yes, like what Tsungi said, there need to be a balance. If the in-laws expect you to take their relatives in, they should also be happy when you take your side in. There need to be a balance in the marriage. Otherwise, there will be lots of problems. So coming to you, Gamu, looking back at what you have learned about the weight of cultural expectations, what would you tell a younger woman about managing the cultural expectations in the society?
I would say, yes, people, they have their own expectations, and you also have your goals that you want to pursue. So you must not shrink yourself trying to prove that you trying to prove that you can do their expectations. I think what you can also do is communicate effectively with respect, and also there has to be a mutual agreement between your husband and the family so that they know, like munhu anoenda kubasa, that person is also expected kuenda kudzimwe dzinamo. You know, as Africans, we gather kuma funerals, we are expected to be there as Murora. So sometimes you can just say, this one I cannot attend because I'm supposed to be at work. So they expect you to be there, but at the same time, you are expected to be at work. So I think you should just communicate with respect. So no, this time I can't attend because of this, than to just be rude. If it's done and it's communicated well, there won't be any problem.
Yeah, communication matters. Tsungi, what's your take on that?
It's true. I'm in full agreement that there needs to be everything needs to be communicated. Certain problems are made into big mountains when they are probably just like a little hill or something due to this whole communication thing. And again, if we people make it a point in their homes that if it's bad news whatsoever to the other side of the family, let it be the biological relative to express that, not Murora talking to expressing that she's not able to do certain things. That may be taken all wrong.
Okay. So Gamu, let's talk about the husband now. What is his role when it comes to managing in-law dynamics? Should he be the bridge or should the wife handle it alone?
I think the husband has to be the bridge, because you know what, we can just do it together. Maybe in saying it out, the husband can say it to his relatives, but at the same time, since we are a couple, that means we work as a team. So in everything that we do, we have to communicate and also know what we really want on that issue so that we won't have any problems. So the husband has to be in for it, since he agreed to be my partner. So in everything that we do, we should agree first, then we go out to the relatives.
Okay, and Tsungi, what's your take? Did you hear the question, Tsungi?
No, I didn't get the question. What did you say?
Okay, I was saying, what is the role of the husband when it comes to managing in-law dynamics? Should he be the bridge or you should do it alone as the wife?
Trust me, when the husband is the bridge, it will all work out. He's the one who has been part of this family from the day one. You are coming in when you're already an adult to join this family. So the one person who should be able to understand both sides is him. And if the moment he fails to be the bridge, everything will lapse. Everything will just collapse just like that. So he really needs to step up as the bridge to help you. Even like I was saying, all these other minor problems, if he comes in, then things will be better and will be lighter. But if he's going to ignore and expect you to do all the work or navigate through the in-laws, it's going to be that much of a hard job for you. Husbands should really be the bridge to help their wives get along with their family, Also, in addition to that, I also feel that women, the moment you become an in-law, take time to study the family, take time to understand the family. In a matter of time, you actually realize that you also get to have your own favorites from the family. You need to depend on them to be your bridges at times as well, other than just depending on your husband. So you get to know your family. Realize that kissing goes by favor. Yes, not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone is going to treat you with respect and the way you expect them to. You should, in every family, there will be 2 or 3 people that will also just fall in love with you, just like your husband. Just get to understand them, get to know those, get to pick those people quickly so that they also be on your side. And in many instances, you realize that those people will be your priests, they'll be your mouthpieces, they'll be watching your back here and there. They will have they will have back, and that's what you need, because at times the husband may not do it all. Sometimes you also need female figures in their family that are actually on your side.
What if you are the daughter-in-law who was never liked by the family? Like it's only your husband who loved you, but you were never accepted in the family.
That's a tough one, but it's doable. Like I'm saying, families that can all just, they can all agree on this one thing, that you are terrible for the worst. The only advice I would give such a woman is just don't try too hard. It's not worth it. Don't try too hard. Just be you. And hopefully as time goes on, they will end up loving you. I know of a couple, they've been married for 50 years now. They're actually celebrating their 50th anniversary. And when this lady says a story for women gatherings that, you know what, no one wanted me, including my mother-in-law, they would inform them, they would actually arrange family meetings, and then you'll be told, you know what, get up, you're not part of the family. Imagine, yet you have been married for over 7 years, you're thinking you're part of this family. But when they have their meetings, they would actually, you know, tell this woman, you know what, get up, you're not part of us. We want to have a family meeting. You are not part of us. But right now she's celebrating her 50th anniversary. There was a time when her mother-in-law even ended up confessing that she didn't like her. But in the end, she grew to be the sweetest person she ever met. She confessed that in church that I hated this woman. I hated this girl. I hated her guts. But this woman stood the test of time. So my encouragement to women out there, when you're that woman who's not loved by the family, yes, it's okay. You don't have to search for your favorites and whatsoever, because you know ultimately they all don't like you. But don't stop being you. If you're that woman who's going to be greeting everyone happily and kissing everybody who comes into your home, you know, embracing them, then you do that. You don't have to stop because they don't like you. You do that. You continue being you. One day, it's a matter of time, they'll realize the beauty and the treasure that you are.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. So, Gamu and Tsungi, you said that you prefer the husband to be the bridge. So, what happens when the husband is seen as mama's boy? How does that affect the marriage?
Okay. I think getting married must not stop you from respecting your mother. So maybe sometimes people may say the husband is the mama's boy because the husband is respecting the mother. But at the same time, there's this Bible verse that says a man is going to leave his family. It's in Proverbs. It says the man will leave his family and to join his can I restart on that one?
Yes.
Okay, I found the verse. Okay. Oh, I was saying there's nothing wrong in a man loving his his mother, right? At the same time, a man must not disrespect his mother because now he's married. What can I say? Okay, I was saying there's this Bible verse, Genesis 2 verse 24, it says, a man shall leave his father and mother and reunite to his wife. So that means, Kuti, the husband should now know that when you are married, you are now building your own family. So that should not stop you from respecting your mother, but at the same time, there are some decisions that you have to make on your own because
So what happens, Gamu, when being mama's boy, it means every decision that he has to make, he has to consult his mother first. How does it feel like you are a family, you and your husband, but then whenever you want to make any decision, he asks his mom first for you to be able to make a decision in your home? How would you navigate with that situation?
Well, for
that
me,
will be
no, it's okay, Gamu, we can take that.
okay. I was saying maybe that means that is not able. Okay, when the husband is mama's boy, Mumbai mama amshatona kids, that means with everything that we do, he has to go and ask his mother first. Then we can make a decision based on his mother's what. Iwe unotoziva kuti hauna chaunotaura as a wife. Anything that you request, it has to go through his mother. Saka, I've heard a lot of people complaining about that, even though I've never had that such a problem. But it must be a painful journey knowing that I don't have a say in my house and the husband will always ask for anything that we want to do, even to have number of children. You have to ask his mother, how many children should we have? So that won't be a great experience.
Yeah, I agree with what Gamu said. Tsungi, what's your take on that?
Well, if you find yourself in a scenario where you've got a mommy's boy or that person who's always having to fall back and ask his mother for approval, then I would advise ladies to do this. Be the mommy's girl. It sounds silly, but it's how it works. You're going to then sluice yourself for that mother to love you too. You're going to go out of your way, yes, and sometimes she may not accept it, but it's the only way. You have to then compete for the mother's attention to get the son. It's as simple as that. Once you have done that, once you win mama, then you're good. You're home and dry. Because this lady is always going to have a role in your lives. But the moment you also become that girl who's also running up to her, then you cure the problem. So it's very psychological, but that's how it's going to work. Remember, most men, their mothers are their place of peace. So the only way you can probably break that is if you also seek the same peace at the same place. So you're all going and running to mama. With men, there are instances whereby, remember when just going back when you were young, your husband was probably that person who, even when he's number 26 out of 27, his mom would give him a pat on the back saying, you know what, you did okay. You beat one person. You're not number last this time, in your class. That mother is also that same person. If the boys next door, if they beat him up and probably was only able to do one punch, the mother will be like, you know what, at least you stood up for yourself. You did one punch, even when he's that much beaten. So there are men who always who go to their mothers, even in their times of distress. Why? Because their mothers will always cheer them on. Unlike wives. Wives may not cheer you on. Honestly, I'm not going to cheer you on if you lost a deal. I might not cheer you on even though you tried. I'll just tell you, you know what, you suck. And that's how women are at times. So the moment, if you want to strike a behavioral change in your husband's cycle, then you need to go where it's all starting from. And it's all starting from mom. So you need to suck up to the mother. You need to win the affection of the mother. So you're also going to be a mama's girl. If it means you're going to be buying more fruit baskets for her, then you do it. That's why you are actually empowered. You do that. If it means if he calls his mother in the morning and at night, then you are going to be calling his mother in the morning, lunchtime, and at night, catching up with her. Guess what? You will win her. Once you win mama, you win your husband. And once you have done that, you have destroyed that cycle that he has to get approval from his mother, because his mother will already tell him, your wife said, so we are doing this because your wife said that, because you left one head trust. So that's what I would advise young ladies out there.
Wow, I love that. If you're married to a mama's boy, you also need to become mama's girl. That's a good one, because at the end of the day, most women, they feel like if they are married to mama's boy, they would tend to compete with the mom-in-law, like the affection, like they will prefer the husband to love them more than the mom. But I don't think you can really compete with somebody's mom. Like at the end of the day, you expect that husband to choose between you and his mom, which is something that is not even practical. What can you say about that, guys? For those women who are competing with their mom-in-laws for the affection from the husband.
That's a losing battle. If someone is in that battle, you know what? Yeah, give up. Hands up. You're out. You're out of the game. It doesn't work like that. If you're going to be competing, then you need to change your tactics. Like one of the tactics, which I already mentioned, be a mama's girl. That is one way of winning that. Because if you think you can be in a competition with somebody, you are a woman as well. You know how even the power of your tears can change a situation. If this woman is to cry to the sun that your wife did that to me, trust me, to wreck you more. So you don't want to be competing with this woman. If there's anything, you need to be copying whatever she does to him, because you already have an added advantage. Your added advantage is he's your husband. So there's some affection there are barriers for how far the mom can go. But remember, you can also then appeal to his senses. You can appeal to his sexuality. So you've got an added advantage already, other than his mother. So the best way is copy whatever mom does for him, and then you've got an added advantage already. Don't try to compete. If you realize that he's buying a suit for his mom every 3 months, you buy 2 for his mom. You're not supposed to compete with the mother. You're supposed to compete with him for his mother's attention. That is the drift. Once you do that, you'll find yourself in a better position. Because this whole competing will never work at all. Trying to compete with somebody who has loved someone from the moment he was born. So you will not win that battle at all. But what you can then do is take advantage of your added advantages. You are his wife. So he's not going to go to bed with his mother. So that's one advantage you got already. So every other thing that his mother does for him, you try that as well. If he's used to having soup, being fed soup by his mom. No, I'm not saying that's what happens, but yeah, then you best try to make that onion soup that he loves, that his mother makes. Mama, teach me the soup that your son loves. Be that woman. And then that way, instead of trying to compete that, you know what, if you're going to go to your mother's house to have murora, I don't make murora here, you will not win. You are going to have to learn to make murora better than mama, and that way you win your match. So that's how I think we should take this whole competition thing.
Yeah, that's really powerful. You need to be a mama's girl so that you will win her heart, like what Tsungi said. Gamu, what do you have to say about this?
So I think Tsungi has said it all, but the problem was created by our culture. We just grew up tichiziva kuti vamwene nemurora is like cat and what and mouse. So I've learned from Tsungi, which is very good. We should be psychologists sometimes to just learn the situation, take time to know people, and then we get the love that we want. Isusu atimbofe takatora time yekuda kudzidza amai vemunhu nemurume wako kuti relationship yacho inobva papi. Isusu what we just do is to fight without learning. Or from Tsungi, I've just learned that I should be a psychologist in some situations for me to win.
Yeah, that's very true. Also statistics show that men, when they marry someone who have got the traits of his mom. So you really need to learn your mom-in-law, like what she wants, how she cooks, all that thing. Because when your husband married you, he was marrying somebody with his mom's traits. So when you go against his mom, that marriage will not even last. So you need to win that mom's heart, like what Tsungi said. So coming to you, Gamu, what advice would you give to a woman whose husband is not stepping up as a bridge between her and his family?
Okay, I think the husband should listen to his wife without dismissing her thoughts, and also they should communicate. You know, the marriages that are that can become successful are those marriages with those in-law dramas, because they make you stronger and better and psychologist, as Sungi say. So I think the husband should also make sure that he supports his wife, because the home that has a supportive wife is a home that was built on strong foundation.
Yeah. Thank you, Gamu, for that. I'll just take you back a little bit. Like what Twingi said, to take the mom-in-law's heart. What if you try everything? You have tried to love the mom-in-law. You have tried to do everything in your capacity, but still she is not accepting you and loving you back. How would you navigate with that situation, Tsungi?
Yeah, that's usually the reality. No, there are also instances whereby you see you can't win that heart. I'll give you a perfect example whereby the woman probably who raised my husband was not his biological mother. He didn't actually have a good relationship. He didn't actually have a relationship with his mother. His mother only came back into his life probably when he was now in form 3, thereabout. And she's trying so hard to please. He's also trying so hard to make a relationship with him, and now there's you. So that's already a situation which could be affecting quite a number of women out there, whereby they are also trying to have a sort of relationship, which is coming later, at a later stage in their lives. So you are torn in between. So there are women like that, where you try all sorts. You try to love them. You try to tolerate them. You try to learn from them, but they will keep giving you a closed door, or they'll keep shunning you out. So when you hit such a door, I think you need to choose your peace. At times, it sounds wrong, but choose your peace. Choose you. It choose you at times. You need to choose you. You need, and again, when you're faced like with incidences like that, it means that you also need to be very cautious of your responses. You know, one response can be twisted. Just a response. Probably even just, if I can give you an example, I like tea, can be changed to she hates coffee. But I just said I like tea. So you need to be careful. If you've got such a woman who has failed to accept you or has failed to love you back, you need then to be extra mindful of your responses whenever she communicates to you. You need to be extra cautious of that. That way it will save your marriage as well. That's my take on that. You can only try so hard, and then there comes a time when you need to really choose your peace.
And Gamu, what do you have to say?
Can you please repeat the question?
Like, you have done like what Tsungi said, like you're married to a mama's boy, and you try to be a mama's girl as well. You try to please her within your capacity until you realize that she is not appreciating all your efforts. What should you do? She's not loving you back. She just doesn't love you.
On that note, that means good. I cannot do anything. What I'll just do is to choose me, and also I'll just go back to praise the song that says Mashoma Azere Unyoro. And even in the Bible also it says Atama. So inini I think anoda kuratidzira kuti haasi kukuda. At the same time, it's very painful to you, but I think iwo uchidzorawo kutaura kwakawanda, because this is a lifelong relationship yatoda kubuilda. Yes, this time they might not like you, but in the long run, they might see that beauty in you, because you know what? Relationships are built over time. So you cannot just expect to be loved there and there. So maybe they will appreciate you in the long run. So I think as these battles are going on, you should be someone who doesn't say a lot of words that are hateful or that will injure, that will make sure, you should not say a lot of words that will make the in-laws hate you more.
Okay, so what if you have tried all the tricks that Tsungi have given us today, and then she still not loves you? Would you be able to give her your children, like maybe for holidays, or you'd rather stay with your children since she doesn't like you? You will not want her to associate with your kids. How would you handle that situation?
That one is a very tricky one, because pandisiri kudiwa, I would say they also don't want my children. But there are some facts that will never change. Yes, they don't like me, but at the same time, to my children, I would want them to know their relatives. But if the father wants them to go, I would not say no, because vana vangu, they should know their grannies, and they should know also, have to know their aunties, because ndokunonyanya kubva matambudziko kuti tete havandide, amai vemunhu havasi kundida. Saka kana baba vacho vachida, unozongoti vana ngavaende, nekuti already takutoheva futi another conflict mumba medu. So they might show me that they don't like me, but ndokwanisa kutongoendesa vana, maybe that will make us bond as well. Pandikuendesa vana, but tirikumbovengerei munhu, there's nothing wrong chaamboti, something like that.
Tsungi, would you give someone your kids if she doesn't like you?
Yes and no.
Okay.
All right. Yes. No, I'm being real. Yeah. Yes and no. Firstly, you know what? When people don't like me, they don't want me, I tend to focus on relationships that are reciprocal. So that means that, yes, I may even, I'm sure not the whole family would then hate me. Possibly. There'll probably be 2 or 3 that actually have this reciprocal love with me. So with me, it means that I tend to trust those people more. That's why I would say yes and no. So I don't even think that there's a situation whereby someone who doesn't like you would even ask for your children. So I'll not be the one to push to send those kids over there unless they request them. And when they request them, I would also then in the background make sure that the people that actually love me reciprocally are involved in that visit. That's why I'm safe. So that's why I said yes and no. If they ask for my children, yes, the moment they ask for my children, somehow they are supposed to experience their grandkids or their nieces and nephews. But the more fact that they do not like me, it's rare for such people to even ask for my children.
Okay, but some, they really have the guts to ask for them, like we want to see our grandkids yet, despite the fact of not loving you. So, Gamu, what would you say has been the hardest thing about living with in-laws, and what's the best thing about living with the in-laws?
Okay, living with in-laws can be a blessing, at the same time can be a challenge, because as long as you are staying with a lot of people in your house, you won't have that quality time with your husband and also your family. Even intimacy will be a challenge. So I think you just have to be clear at communicating what you really want to your husband. And I think privacy would be the best challenge that you are going to face.
Okay. And Tsungi, in your experience, did you ever live with your in-laws? And if so, what was the experience like, and what challenges did it bring?
Well, I think living with in-laws has its beauties as well, and it's got its bad side as well. Looking at the family members that I know that have had to be daughters-in-law and having to live in my other family, in my aunt's homes and all, I feel that for them, what made it work for them was understanding that they had to blend in. So if you're going to be living with in-laws in their home, you really need to blend in. You really need to fit in. You really need to, I can't say sacrifice, but you need to understand that it's their home. The moment you do that, you'll feel okay and you'll be fine. That means that you, at times you might not be the one responsible for even choosing the meals, but you have to make that meal. So that means that it only comes with you understanding that you have to just be part of that family. It's a very tough one. Then living with in-laws when it's probably within your walls, it's a bit different. I remember there was a time I had to live in with my father-in-law after his other marriage had, collapsed, and then we had to live in with my father-in-law. I tell you, those were some of the greatest days of my life. My father-in-law I think with fathers-in-law it's different, maybe, I don't know, but mine was the coolest guy ever. I would wake up. He would even ask for my car keys to wash my car before I go to work. Things that my husband never did, So, but he was my father-in-law. I would not even send him to do that. He would just find himself doing something in the house. He was just a busy guy, and he minded his own business, and we lived okay. He was a happy man, and yeah, life was okay. So I never had challenges with living with a relative in my own walls. But I guess the challenge is when it's their rules, or they are the ones making the rules. And at the same time, you really need to experience lots of tolerance levels. Like, it's not every battle that needs your energy, when you're living with in-laws. If you try to fight every battle, then you're in for a heart attack. Yeah, you just die. You can't do that. So some battles they don't even need your energy. I'll give you a perfect example that happened to me. There was a time I had to be in my in-laws' home, and I had my house help and my children. It was just for a week that we had to be there. And the reason we had to be there was I was actually trying to please my husband that, I can be comfortable staying there for long, even when you are not there. So I was actually trying to prove to him that, I'll be fine. I'm going to be there for a whole week. But to my surprise, I came home from whatever that I was doing to find there was a note on the fridge which was written, "Close well." And I was wondering, there's a note written, "Close well." Was it for my babies who couldn't read at that time? Or was it for my maid, my helper who was with the children? Or was it really for me? Because if it was for my helper, my assumption would have been in Shona, Varai Shakanaka, or something like that. But it was written, "Close well," meaning it was intended for me. So already you'd see that, okay, and this was now happening when there was, my mother-in-law now was now in that home, right? Yeah. So that's when I'm finding notes written, "Close well," on the refrigerator. It came shocking to me. And unfortunately, I wish it had happened now when I'm this mature. When that happened, I was angry. What was the problem? Is it not like my father? Was he not able to just tell me, your children are leaving the fridge open, or your house help is failing to close the door of the fridge? I was really agitated because I'm coming from a background where it's not the first fridge that I'm having in my home. I've got my own fridge is at my house. And I'm not coming from the rural areas. We've got refrigerators in my parents' house. So, it was really that much shocking. But I reacted badly because for me, I then told my husband that there's a note. Then I sent him a picture. I think I did send it. I don't know. But I did communicate to him. Then instantly, instead of just dealing with that and just ignoring it, I then caused alarm because I then informed my family as well that, these people are writing a note on me on the refrigerator, which is saying, "Close well." So already now they got angry. Oh my, I think my family, they fueled it all because they were like, you know what? Right now, this moment, you're leaving that home, you're booking into a hotel, you and your children and your mate. You are leaving that place this very instant. They blew it out of proportion. From that simple note, "Close well." You see, so I would say, yeah, if for the young ladies out there, just don't focus on these little things. It's not necessary. If it had happened to me now, I tell you, I was probably just going to walk into my father-in-law's, ask, "Are you the one who wrote that note?" "It's Mama who did write that note." "Okay, it's fine. We'll close the door better, but I'm going to remove it because I've read and laugh about it. If it had happened to me now. And I would laugh. I would actually tear it off, go to them and laugh it off if it had happened now. But when it happened at that time, I would be young age as well, in maturity, I also freaked out. And in the end, I also reported to my family, which is one big mistake people do. If you're living in the home of your in-laws, try by all means not to report them to your family. It doesn't come out nice, and it will cause more problems and more friction within your home. At the same time, if you're going to be living with people, then you need to choose your responses carefully all the time. You need to be very cautious. You need to learn to be very cautious. That's what I would say from my experience with living with in-laws.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. So, Gamu, looking back, what lessons have you learned about protecting your peace when it comes to extended family dynamics?
I think we should just try to build healthy boundaries with respect and open communication. That will work very well, because if you don't have boundaries, nothing will work.
Okay, and you, Tsungi, what do you have to say?
I think one thing that I've learned to understand is that it's not everyone who can read through your boundaries. So and already that means then that it's not everyone who's going to understand your boundaries. So because of that, at times I've also realized that sometimes distance is the answer to get your peace. You may distance yourself. You may mingle less with people, with family, just to get your peace back. The more you interact, the more they are probably going to rub it onto you again. The more you interact, the more chances of you being hurt. So you might want to play the distance card at times just to get your own peace. At the same time, it's not everyone who's going to become your favorite. So don't think you can be everyone's favorite. That's impossible. And that will only steal your peace. So don't try to be everyone's favorite. Again, there has to be a time when you're going to have to choose your marriage over the family as well. So you're going to have to do certain things that will bring prioritize your marriage more than prioritizing this whole extended family, because that's what will give you peace by the end of the day. But related to them through marriage, so marriage always needs to come first. So that's what I think would help me to get my peace. So you need to protect your marriage as well. If you're in such in order to have your peace, you need to protect your marriage as well. So yeah, that's what I think gives me back my peace.
I like it
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was saying I liked the response from Tsungi. You know what? We may say boundaries. Yes, they create a health balance, but at the same time, the thing of distance, that's most crucial. You know what? I once faced a problem, but when I look back at it, the more you visit those people, you no longer have those boundaries. So if you keep a distance, there will be healthy relationships, because apasina kutaura kakawanda, because chinonyanya uraya relationships, it's our mouth wanda. Saka Tsungi zvawataura, I liked it, because zvitaura kunyanya kusangana kwakawanda ndokunokonzeresa. So I think distance is very good to maintain.
And then just to add on, we also need to remember that the institution of marriage is primitive on its own. And we can't try to modernize it, by the way. Because of that, it means that as a woman, just play your role as the wife, as the daughter-in-law. No matter the responses or no matter the reactions you get, you simply need to play your role, because marriage is that primitive, by the way. You can't try to modernize it. As long as you play your role as the wife, you play your role as the daughter-in-law, as the sister-in-law, and lower your expectation in return. You may do whatever you do, hoping that you'll be appreciated. You will not get the appreciation. You may do whatever you do, hoping to get the thank you. You will not get the thank you. But you need to remember that as long as you say, I do, and you want to be in that marriage, then you need to remember that you have to do whatever role you are supposed to do religiously. You have to do it continuously, even though you may not get the expected response or reaction from your in-laws. So that's, again, will give you peace. Don't expect too much.
Thank you, Tsungi, for that. So now coming to in-laws and the money, like the financial ties, there's this proverb which says, which means that the son-in-law is a fruit tree one never stops from eating from. It's a reminder of the real ongoing weight of financial expectation placed on in-law expectations. In Zimbabwe, there's often an expectation that children will support their parents financially, and that includes the daughter-in-law. How do you navigate that? Tsungi, you can take that one.
I think, maybe it's that strong in Zimbabwe that we need to take care of our families, our parents. But the thing is, here's the thing. The moment you continue, once you're married and you really look to your in-laws as in-laws, you'll be trouble. But the moment you remind yourself that they are also your parents, you should be able to do just about anything. If you're that person who buys gifts for your mother's birthday, then it means that on your list of birthdays, you've got two more, your father-in-law and your mother-in-law. So the moment you remove that whole instinct and that whole mentality that these are my husband's parents, then you'll be fine. You need to remove that altogether. That way, it is very easy for you to part with any dollar or whatever amount to share with them, because you're taking it as you are doing for your parents. So it's one thing that couples need to really understand, that his parents syndrome has to be dropped the moment you get married. My parents syndrome has to be, they're just all your parents. There should not be a difference between how you treat them. So if you're going to be sending financial support to your husband's side, then be prepared to do the same even to your side as well. That way, once there's that balance, you should be fine. Because in the end, you just need to remember you are doing for your parents, not that you're doing for your in-laws. The moment it's in your head that you're doing it for in-laws, you always have a problem. You always be too calculative on how much you're spending on them. You always be calculating, of which that's not supposed to be the case. If it's for your mother, you will not even complain. You will not even try to calculate. So even your husband probably feels the same. So you be the one who puts the woman has to be the one who makes the husband understands that it has to be the same. It has to be the same. If they're all alive, then it means you simply have 4 parents, not that you've got 2 sets of parents, his and mine. No, they're all your parents. That way you will not have any challenges whatsoever with parting with money, financial aid for them as well.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. So isn't it that when you get married, you are now one thing, what you do to your family, you also do to his family. So it shouldn't be something really difficult for you. If you give your mom $10, you should give his mom $10. And also, you need to drop the in-law thing. You remove she's the mother-in-law. Now, when you blend in well, you need to see her like your own mom, creating that relationship between the two of you. If you really have a good relationship, I don't think it will really hurt much to give your in-laws money as well, just as you do to your side. So, Gamu, we were saying that there's often an expectation that children will support their parents financially, and that includes the daughter-in-law. How do you navigate that?
So I believe marriage is a partnership. So whenever there is need for us to help as a couple, we should sit down and also talk about it. Then we agree on what we are able to contribute to the situation that needs attention to the family. For example, let's say the groceries. Some they agree that they buy groceries each month. There should be a balance between my family and my husband's family. If you break that balance, I think there won't be a problem. But depending on the problem, let's say someone is not feeling well, the hospital bills won't be the same every time. But what we have to do is to agree on what we can afford, and so that we create a balance between our family needs and also the problem that we needs attention at that time.
Thank you for that, Gamu. So, Tsungi, have you ever had to choose between supporting your in-laws and supporting your own family?
Not really. I've not. No.
Okay, that's fine. So, who should fund the in-laws' medical bills, the funerals, or their needs? Should it be their son or the daughter-in-law?
Okay, can you really separate between their son and the daughter-in-law? That's the question that I want to stick in each and every woman. The moment you're married, there's no I do this, she does that. They are your parents. So if we are saying everyone is on this funeral policy, then it means that funeral policy is probably going to have 4 parents, then our family, or whatever it is. Or if you're going to create one that is only for the parents, then that's it. All parents are going to be on that policy. My point is, couples need to stop having I do this, you do that. That secrecy is what actually it's what feeds problems with the in-laws. Do you know in-laws are able to tell that if they can actually get money out of you and your wife will never know? It's because it's actually the couple that would have allowed that. Do you know that? There are couples that actually keep secrets on spending on their parents, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. And these in-laws will actually know that, you know what, we can actually get money out of our brother without the wife knowing. And they'll take advantage of that. Those are the problems that will then keep reoccurring. And at some point, they'll be so huge that we'll not be able to contain them. So my advice is, when couples decide on what they need to do for in-laws, it has to be a decision they both make. Not one party making it. It has to be a combined decision.
Okay, Tsungi, on that note, when the in-laws are in need of money, should they ask for the money from the husband or from the daughter-in-law?
Okay, let's be real here. In-laws have a zero. Right? Let's agree to disagree. You can't tell them that when you want to ask for money, ask from my wife. They will somehow try to fight that at any given point. They will try to just fight that. Why? Because they don't want a scenario where you are trying to teach them how to do things. Remember, they are in the position whereby they feel it has to be things their way. Sorry about that. So they feel that things are supposed to be done their way. So my advice then would be, if you realize that your side of the family, when they want things, they come through you, you inform your husband, and the decision then comes from your husband to them. For example, if they were asking your husband for money for maybe going out, whatever it is, it is your husband who informs you, right? And then you be the one, whether you're delivering or you are saying no. But usually when you're delivering, when it's a positive response, that's when I would expect you to take control of it, or be the one in charge of it. So if it's a yes, then let it be you. Then if it's your husband's side, they ask money from your husband. Let it be you to then send the money. My in-laws, did you receive the money that we sent you? Have you received the money that we sent? That way, on the long run, because we are expecting this marriage to last for long, right? On the long run, they will learn that the person who gives us is the other side or the other spouse. So if couples can maybe try to do that, it may help them. It may help them.
Okay, thank you for that, Sungi. But you know, there are some instances whereby the husband does not provide for the family, but you as the daughter-in-law, you're expected to fight for the medical bills, for the funeral and all that stuff. How would you navigate towards that situation? You know, everything is just on you. The husband is not that responsible.
I think firstly, I would then choose my immediate family. There's a time when you need to just, choose your peace. I would have to then, because remember, you're saying he's not being responsible, right? That's the scenario. The man is not being man enough for his own children, for me either. So in such a scenario, you know what? Whatever my efforts, let me put my efforts on making sure my household first is comfortable. Until he comes in the picture, till he remains up for his own responsibility. There's a time, women, we can't sacrifice our children. Trust me. We can't. At times, it's not really worth it. So here, you're put in the deep end. So your first call would be making sure your family is comfortable, your children, your household. Let it be comfortable first.
Okay. And coming to you, Gamu, if you ever had to say no to a financial request from your in-laws, how did you do it without causing any offense to them?
If they are my in-laws, I will never say no in front of them. I'll just tell their relatives, which is my husband, to go with the response, as we said earlier. Because if I say it, vanoti tikunyimwa, guys. Vanototi tikunyimwa. And you know what? Since this relationship ndeyekudzidzira kudanana, munhu wandakavinga is my husband. So with all the other relatives, we are all trying to love. We are actually learning to love each other. Sometimes they might say something before I even say the answer. They've already judged me. So I think their relative who understands them better. For now, we don't have thing. I know maybe sometimes if the relatives go there and talk to them, they'll just say, it's the wife. No, they will say that. That's why Asangaita saying sometimes you cannot strain yourself if you can't. There are so many responsibilities that we have, and sometimes school fees. Just for example, you also have your kids that are going to school, and you are actually struggling to pay for your own children's school fees. Then someone comes and asks for money because they know something about you. Wakaku grade who then should ask for money from in a family setup, the husband or the wife. They say it's my relative who needs money. Usually they tell me. But we expect which is not fair sometimes, because usually munhu anoenda kwaakarerukirwa anogona kudza nekuti ndini ndenchiziva zvidowa mumba, but ipapo I think we should choose to be indifferent. Sei vanhu vangowirirana the way they were used to. We discuss, then at the same time kuside kwangu hama dzangu dzikauya chindudza tikumbire rubatsiro, then I tell my husband, if the money is there, contribute toendesa mari. Kana pasinawo, I just go back. I think that way won't be any problem.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Gam, but I think the problems comes up when the in-law asks for money from your husband and you are not told, and that husband of yours gives the money to his relative are behind your back. That's why women nowadays are saying that you need to tell us as the wives of the home. You can't just go and ask for money from a husband, because these husbands, they are now doing it behind the wife's back, which is not fair. So in a normal setup, although it's not really practical, I think the in-laws, they need to ask for money from their daughter-in-law. Although it's not practical, but I think it really saves a lot of arguments in a marriage. So Tsungi, what
But
advice would you give? What did you say, Gamo?
I was saying you cannot go around teaching people where to ask for money from your home. So usually they just come. So in ipapo, I beg to differ. I think you as a couple, ndimunofana kuziyana, because kana akatora mari kachipa usually isusu totoziva kudaro, usually unozongoona mari yashota. That will not be healthy for our financial balance. That person should be open enough kuti ataure kuti ndakumbirwa mari toita sei, something like that.
Yeah, so it all goes back to communication in the marriage.
Yes.
So if something like that
Yes.
is happening, simply means you and your husband are not communicating well. That's why we were saying that for the in-laws to be controlling, it's because we are giving them the loopholes. You know, despite them making their mistakes of not telling you, the wife, that we need the money, your husband also has got the responsibility to tell his wife that my brother needs such amount. So if your husband is not able to be open enough to tell you, that's where all those loopholes come in place, and then you feel like they are controlling, but at times they're not even trying to control your marriage. It's just the miscommunication between you and your husband. But we as humans, you know, being human, we end up putting a blame on other people. The in-laws are always blamed all the time. 3/4 of the time, we blame the in-laws, of which sometimes it's not even their problem. It's our problem, me and my husband. So,
and what will end that problem, I think, is to let's say someone comes to your husband and asks for money. Then when you have the money, that will clear off. That shows you are in good books. I can just go behind the wife. So if that person akatodzidza kuti vanhu vanokommunicata, next time anotouya kwauri kuti pamari yamakaunza.
Yes. Yeah. Tsungi, what's your take on that?
I agree with Gamu. I had alluded to that. Like, if they ask through him, he's going to inform you, and you are the one who goes back with a good decision. Unless when the response is on the bad side, again, my advice would be let the biological relative be the one to share the bad news. If it's a no. If it's a yes, then let the wife be in the picture. Let the other side, the other spouse be the one to hand them over. That way they will know that, you know what, these people communicate. It's not a secret when we ask from our sibling any favors. He will inform his spouse. So yeah, if we can be in that culture, I'm sure marriage life will be that.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. So now coming to in-laws and children, the involvement of grandparents. Children are often a point of tension with in-laws. Like they want to control the children. For example, let's say you want your baby to have some styles in the hair, like you want to do some styles in the baby's hair, but then the grandma is saying that you need to cut that hair, you know, telling you what to do on your child, like what she prefers. How would you handle that situation? Like grandma has got what he likes, and you as the mom of the child, you also have what you like, but it's different. How would you handle that situation?
My question would it be any different if it was your mom asking for a certain hairstyle on your daughter? It's only a challenge when it's your spouse's mother asking for a certain hairstyle on your daughter. If there's a difference, then there's a problem. Because if it's any grandmother wants to also experience those kids. I'm already, I'm a mom, yes, but at times I actually put my head down and I imagine how I'm going to be spending life with my grandkids. My kids are still young, hey? The oldest has only started university, but I'm already picturing, okay, when I have grandkids, who go on holiday with them, I will plait their hair, I will do this and that. So, daughters-in-law, please, let's step down a little bit. Allow granny to be granny when they also want to be granny. Please, let's allow them to be grandmothers.
Tsungi, have you ever had to set boundaries around your children, whether it's discipline, education, or values with your in-laws?
Yes, I have. I have, and so far so good. So far so good. Yes.
Okay, so what would you do in this situation? Like maybe you're disciplining your child, and then after you leave, the grandma and your child will talk behind your back. Like, for example, don't listen to your mom. You know how she is. How does that affect relationships?
you know what? Let's be real. Let's allow grandmothers to be grandmothers. Grandmothers have a tendency to spoil kids. It's a well-known thing. So yes, we may put boundaries. We may have our own ways of disciplining kids, and grandmother will come in the picture and they're probably against how we're doing it. Usually these grandmothers are not there 24/7 in your home. So you just, then they are gone, that's when you tell your children, you know what, my rules still stand when it's in this house. My rules will always stand. Otherwise, you can't really come in between grandmother and her granddaughter. They would definitely go behind your back. The grandmother will be just trying to be a granny, and let's allow them to be grandmothers. Then you don't want to waste your energy on petty things, trust me. But what you can then do, once grandmother is gone, when it's just you and your children, you re-emphasize that when it comes to their discipline and their well-being, really, it's your rules that go.
Thank you for that. As for me, I was raised by a grandma, and to tell you what, I think she did the best thing ever. The way she raised me, I don't think if my mom could be able to raise me in such a way. Grandparents, they are really good when it comes to discipline the children. But then we are now modern. We feel like they're trying to control me and stuff. Gamu, we were saying that how would you handle your in-laws, the grandparents, when they try to control your children, like whether it's discipline, education, or values? Gamu, I can't hear you.
Oh, I was saying children are raised by the community. So if you don't allow people to discipline your children, they will disappoint you in future, because kids can do some of the things. So ukasabvuma kuti discipline when any other person, that means you are killing your children. So that built us. But nowadays, I think it's now different. They now stand with their family. Even with other relatives or my in-laws, which has a very bad impact on the children that we are raising. But the moment you don't allow anyone to discipline your children, that means good, no one is going to discipline or to kuvatsura about that issue. That means
Yeah, that's very true. So Tsungi, what has been the most important lesson you have learned about protecting your children's well-being while maintaining family connections?
Well, I think one major lesson I learned was by all means possible, you need to avoid confrontation. You know, you just can't confront your mother-in-law. Okay, why did you discipline my daughter in such and such a way? At times, yes, you may not be happy about it, but you also need to be very careful of the way you're going to respond to that reaction or to that action that you should have done. So before you even make or before you even speak, you just need to think about it. What if that person who did that was your biological relative? Would you react the same? If the answer is yes, then that's when you need to then take action. But you don't have to do it in a confrontation way, because they will already be defensive about it, and then they may not accept that they probably did something wrong the way they handled the matter. So avoid confronting by all means possible. And at the same time, before you react, just think to yourself, would I be reacting the same if this was done by my biological relative? If the answer is no, then leave it. If the answer is yes, that's when you act on it. That's a big lesson I got when it comes to children.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. So now we are focusing on rejection when the in-laws do not accept you. There's this saying which says, kutanda asha kudzinga muridzi wayo. In English, we are saying, drive away the dog of a son-in-law is to chase away its owner. In a nutshell, we are saying that if the in-laws do not love the daughter-in-law, they are simply saying they are not interested in the marriage. So what happens when in-laws do not accept you? Gam, what does rejection feel like, and how do you heal from it? I can't hear you, Gam.
So I was saying being rejected is the most difficult thing that happens in a relationship. Yes, you and your husband, you're in good books, everything is going on well, but the relatives will be saying no. Maybe sometimes you'll be knowing the reason, and in some instances, they will not tell you why they don't like you. Maybe they don't like your stature. Maybe they don't just like you. But as I said, relationships are built over time. What you just have to do is to choose your peace and try and make sure that you learn the family dynamics. If you pick one or two things that they like and you start doing those things, maybe they will start to like you.
Okay. And Tsungi, what do you have to say about this?
Rejection is the worst thing, but it's one part of life. that we need to live with. Again, you need to just protect your marriage by making sure you've got peace, because your peace is that important. So you need to have your peace. Again, like I said before, you need to just choose your battles. You don't have to put energy on most of the things that incur. And usually when people are rejecting you, they are always trying to trigger a reaction from you. So you need to learn to ignore most of the elements that they do. Most of the things that they do, you need to have that not resistance per se, but you need to learn to ignore it, to make it not trigger a reaction within you. So I think that's what would help when you're facing rejection from the family. And like I said, some have been rejected. They're probably in their 30th anniversary. The family rejected them. But now you need to realize that choosing your peace is not being selfish. You need to choose your peace. You need to, even if it means distancing yourself at times, you need to do that. It's healthy. It's for your own good. And that's what will keep your marriage going.
Yeah. I agree with what you said, Tsungi. You also said Rora Neve Matung. I don't think rejection would be much of an issue if your husband's family know your family already. You know, it will be easy to blend. But sometimes what happens is the husband will look for a wife far away and they don't know about the background of the wife, of the daughter-in-law. You know, paninge kamskana ke mareni kawanenge vachida kuturori, and then you go far away and take someone else. So you really face a resistance because they want that girl whom they know very well. So the son-in-law, the husband wants to marry you, but the family does not want you. They want that girl that they knew, you know, we're married in Maunde. The son decided to take someone very far. So it's really difficult that way because they already have their daughter-in-law in their mind. You are not their daughter-in-law, you see. So how can you blend in such a situation? They have someone they really love already and you are coming in the picture. Can they accept you in that situation?
It will be tough. It's a tough call. But that's why I'm saying the two things that you can control really is your peace, you know, and the amount of interactions that you have with them. Those are the only two things that will give you power. Honestly, if you want to then expose yourself that much, they will walk all over you and you'll be in pain every day of your life. So there isn't much you can do. They have this daughter-in-law that they picture, the one they wanted, but they got you instead. So you're trying to fight and you're trying to show them that I'm the one. You're only exerting so much energy for nothing. So you'd rather have limited interactions with the family, with the extended family. Besides, if they don't like you, they probably won't even be coming to your home anyway. So yeah, that means your home becomes your safe haven. They'll probably also visit not that often. So you'll be fine. So just avoid too much interaction with such, because you know it won't do you any good.
Can you please repeat the question?
I mean, like your husband, there was a girl in the Mumarayi Nanditi who was loved by the family and they were expecting their son to marry that certain girl. But then the son did not marry that certain girl. The son married you instead. So you start to feel rejection because they have their daughter-in-law already in their head. How would you handle that situation?
That would be a very difficult one. What Tsungi said, we just have to make sure that you distance yourself from them and you be the person with mashoko rejection zvinowanzoitika in the early ages of in the early days of marriage. They'll be comparing you with that girl. But as the years goes by, vakutonatsona kuti sure mwana wedu ndiye munhu ari kutoda and matone mwana mane chi, maybe the relationship will change kumberi. So I think this time when you'll be facing all these battles, the best thing that you can do is not to say a lot of words and not to fight back as well. Because if you fight back, you are only making the relationship worse than it was going to be. So if you keep quiet and just talk when necessary, that will build the relationship better than you answering back and saying say something like that. And I think everything, you see, everything you just be calm and let God, let time heal everything.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. But you know what? As I grew up, I always prayed like, God, I want to be married by someone who is coming from a family that is going to accept me and love me. Because I felt like their husband's affection and love is not really enough. You know, you also need to be loved by his relatives, because I feel like it's sort of a covering for your marriage, being loved by by his parents and also the other relatives than saying our love is enough. Do you think that the love between the two is really enough?
What I can say is the love between the two of you is the first thing to prioritize. Then also, you need people around you. We can never stay in a vacuum where there are no other people. So other relationships are also vital because you want just people to talk to, you'd want people to help you, you'd want people in every scenario of life. So I think I was saying, all right, those are the people who can shape us. And in our culture as well, we are taught to cautious a family. And family is everything that we have to cherish. You cannot say we have had a good time when we are just the two of you. Yes, there are sometimes you can say that family will spice it all.
Yeah, that's very true. So, Tungi, I believe there's a woman out there who's facing rejection at the moment. What would you say to that?
Say your marriage is more than that rejection. So you just need to hold on. People do change. People do change. So what she needs to stay in control of is what she does. So that means that their rejection, their actions, the friction, the tension they're causing in her life should not really change the person that she is. So I would advise this woman to carry on being her husband's wife, being the daughter-in-law, being that married woman into that clan. And let's and allow time to do its game because that's all she can do. Let her not change her behavior because she's not accepted or she's not appreciated. She should continue being her, but at the same time, she should also give herself peace by having less interactions with those people who are rejecting her.
Thank you for that. So, guys, do you think that staying with the in-laws brings more problems? And like when you're staying far away from them, what would you prefer?
Maybe if I can take that first. I feel that this distance doesn't mean much really. For some, distance actually makes people grow closer. I'm talking about if you're getting into when you get married, right? You're becoming part of a certain family as well. It's to a certain extent. So you need to learn their values. You need to learn what they like, what they do, how they do things. You need really to be in Rome in order to be a Roman as well, right? So when there's less distance, when you're seeing each other more, you tend to learn each other more. And again, you learn their habits. For example, if I get a sister-in-law into our family, they would realize that we don't have probably even bedroom barriers. Muroras get into my mother's bedrooms. That's how it is in our family. They choose even clothes for our fathers. That's how it is in our home. But if it's a different home, you don't even wash your father-in-law's clothes. You don't do things like that. You don't choose the perfect suit for a father-in-law when he's going to work. But for our home, like from where I come from, that's so normal. Like we can all get into the parents' bedroom, whether you're the sister-in-law or is this Murora who has joined the family. We are all the same. And so you realize that when you're experiencing so much time together, you tend to then leave that whole bit of in-law and you just become family. My sisters-in-law then become my brother's wives, then become my sisters too. So in the end, we become closer. And you realize that you feel for them, not just as an in-law, but probably they become a sibling that you probably never had. So that's how it is for some families. So I can't say distance is that bad. However, when you've got a controlling family and yet you're also empowered and all, you'd think that having distance makes them miss you. And when they miss you, then they value more. We can't put it all on the distance. So it works differently in different scenarios.
Thank you for that, Tsungi. And Gamo, what's your take on that? Okay, coming to you, Tsungi, what happens to in-law relationships when a marriage ends? How do you navigate that, especially when the children are involved?
Relations are bound to become sour. Each side usually has the back of their child, their biological relative. To a certain extent, we cannot avoid the fact that relations may be disturbed a bit. So I think what would be wise though is during and after the divorce, there needs to be at least you need to give each other room and space as in-laws so that by the time you then start interacting again, you have all healed from the hurts, the bitterness and all that to give room for not reconciliation per se, but we need to give room for healing and forgiving. When at times some divorce and some divorces are a bit rough, they also get into the in-law relationships as well. So I think the best is to allow time and dust to settle a bit before you try to have conversations or trying to act as if nothing happened. So the best thing is to give each other space. So when you're still hurting and all, I would not advise a woman who's still hurting to try and communicate with the in-laws. They are not going to be on your side. Remember that. Come what may, they will always favor their biological. So it will hurt you more. So whatever they say may not be real, and whatever they say may not be what you expect. So the best would be to protect yourself, to protect your feelings by giving them distance for a little while and making the dust settle a bit. Then you pick it up from there.
Okay, so what advice would you give to a woman who is navigating life after marriage and still trying to keep the connections with the in-laws?
My first advice is don't force it. It sounds so simple, but it's not that simple. Don't force it. Let it not be you doing all the work. Let it be reciprocal. If they want to be involved in your children's life, they will also find ways and means of doing so. You know, if you know, at times even just a bottle of peanut butter from their grandmother is that much appreciated if that grandmother wants to be involved in the children's life. And then there are some who may just ignore and just probably leaving you to suffer or hoping to see you coming on your knees begging for their attention. So what I would advise a woman out there who's living life out after marriage and has children with that family is to don't force it. Don't force it. Don't try too hard. Let it be. Let it be. Each day as it comes, those that really care will find their way back into those children's lives. They will. They will. And those that don't care, let them be. You don't have to force yourself. Don't try to be where you're not invited. Don't. And usually, in many instances, there are those family members that will try to keep healthy relationships with you even after the marriage. Hang on to those, because those also do matter. You'd realize that maybe my children are not talking to their paternal grandparents, but their aunts, their father's aunts, they're there that they are communicating with easily. So treasure such relationships, because by the end of the day, you want a balance in your children's lives. And remember, life after the marriage is not the end of the world.
I don't know what's happening with the network. Remember.
Okay. That's when I can check again. Okay. Now talking about setting boundaries. I believe boundaries are essential in the relationship, but they can be hard to enforce, especially in our culture. What boundaries did you have to set with your in-laws, and how did you enforce them?
I'm actually trying to think of a boundary. Yeah. For example, we were talking about it just now when we're talking about finances. When there comes a time like when they need to understand like their son's finances are also my finances to a certain extent if people are married. So again, it's where they got the point was taken home in the fact that if money was asked, probably secretly, he would end up just telling me and informing me. The moment I know it, and then when we are sending the money, they get to know that, you know what, it's coming from them, not their son. The message was sent home. So that is one boundary that can be set and can be driven home by your actions if you realize that it's taking too long for people to understand. So that's one boundary. And then again, like I was saying, my home, my rules. That means if you send your child to my house and you expect me to be quiet about it if they're going to be getting into my house after 6 p.m., then that is not happening. I had to enforce that. And how I did that for these extended family children that were staying in my household, if you exceeded that time, you're supposed to be home by 6 o'clock. And that's the rule that applies to my children and everybody else. If you're home after 6, I told them, you know what, tomorrow you're going back to your parents' house. You can't stay here. And I did that. It may sound rough and tough, but that's what I did in order for my boundaries to be felt. And for me to set a good example, even to my own children, that when they visit other people's homes, they need to abide by the rules that are governed in that home, not what happens in their mother's house. So I did that. Yes, it was controversial in that, the message they got was I probably didn't want that child in my home, but that was not the case. I was just driving the message home that if you are in my home, you abide by my rules. And for all the other children that came to stay in our home, they did just that. They knew that they had to be home before 6 p.m. Unless there's a real big problem, they would communicate it beforehand so that we allow them in the house. So yeah, I think at times you need to push the hard button in order for your boundaries to be felt and acknowledged.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Twingi. And thank you so much for that powerful contribution. And that was our today's episode of Remadzimai. Today we went deep into something that affects almost every marriage, in-laws, and how they shape our relationships. We talked about cultural expectations, the husband's war, living with in-laws, man, children, rejection, the distance, navigating life after marriage, the boundaries, and breaking the cycle for the next generation. One thing is clear, in-laws dynamics are complex. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. What works for one woman may not work for another, and that's okay. But here's the truth I want to take away. You are not alone in this. So many women struggle with in-law dynamics, and it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to protect your peace. It's also okay to say no, but with love. It's okay to seek support when you need it. And most importantly, what you learn from the experience can shape what you do differently for the next generation. Now we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What has been your experience with in-laws? What has helped you navigate the relationship? Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share this video to anyone who may need it. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. I'm Titi Grace Nyambe and I'm your host, and this is Remadzimai, where we dare to speak, dare to heal, and dare to rise. Until next time, stay strong, stay real, and remember, your peace is yours to protect.